meditation is going to be an effective tool for those of us who are in the healing process from relational trauma. And I'm going to speak a bit about why this is. We've talked a lot about how, through the course of relational trauma, we develop many, many different parts, okay? And those parts make it difficult for us to access that self-energy, which is curious and confident and courageous and compassionate and all those different wonderful things, okay? So, one of our main goals in the healing from relational trauma is to begin to access that self-energy more and more that was buried by all those different protective parts that were really trying to help us to survive, okay? And so for many of us, we develop multiple thinking parts, okay? And what this means or what this looks like is that we have very busy minds. And it's, for most of us, it's going pretty much all the time. We have a constant kind of narrative or dialogue going most of the time. And many of us are unaware of it, okay? And this is because we have various thinking parts. We could have this inner critic part, we could have a monitoring part, we could have a hyper-judgmental part, we could have an over-analyzing part, the list goes on and on, okay? So our minds are going all the time. And so how does meditation help with this? Okay. In order for us, first of all, we have to develop a new relationship with our thoughts, okay? Our thoughts are not going to go away. We're humans. We have thoughts. We have to have thoughts. Our thoughts are so incredibly important and can be so beneficial to us in so many different ways. But we need to develop a new kind of relationship with our thoughts in the healing from relational trauma. And, one of my favorite teachers on this, her name is Pema Chodron. She's an American Buddhist nun. And she speaks about this unconditional friendliness. We develop an unconditional friendliness with our thoughts through meditation. And I love this. And what she means by this is through meditation, we develop a practice of learning how to observe our thoughts come in and out, okay? And instead of judging our thoughts or even getting angry at ourselves for having those thoughts, we develop that unconditional friendliness. Hey, you're there. I see you. You're welcome here. All of us is welcome. All of you are welcome. And we just learn how to basically observe our thoughts and let them pass, okay? The imagery that she uses and that many use are a wave coming into the shore and then going back into the ocean, okay? Or a cloud crossing the sky. That's kind of how we begin to view our thoughts. We let them come in and out. Those thoughts are welcome. We do not punish ourselves or criticize ourselves for having those thoughts. We catch ourselves when we do that, okay? And we remember to return it to an unconditional friendliness instead. So we develop a new relationship with our thoughts, all right? And here's the thing, is that as we, move forward in our healing process, we do that work that we've been talking about with self-compassion and with the inner parenting and the reparenting and some of the more intensive trauma work, maybe with EMDR, or with that internal family systems and some of that somatic work. It's going to be so beautiful for us to notice that our thoughts are there, but they're going to have a different energy. They're not going to have such a control over us. We feel less attached to our thoughts. We begin to understand that our thoughts are not who we are. They do not define us, okay? And many of us have very kind of like scary, dark, weird thoughts, myself included. That's okay. That doesn't mean that we're bad. That's not a sign that we're not healing. That just happens. And we don't need to overanalyze it. It just happens, and we welcome those thoughts with an unconditional friendliness, and we watch them pass through, okay? Just like a train moving across. And one of the wonderful things I love about meditation is that there are so many different ways to meditate. There are so many different techniques. There's podcasts. There's apps on our smartwatches, on our phones. There's guided meditations. And again, I'm going to return back to Pema Chodron. This is how I really learned a form of meditation that worked for me. And that's important here to note, is that, it's very important for us to find a meditation, a practice that works for you, that's individual to you and your unique needs, okay? I'm just going to speak very briefly on the practice that she has taught me how to use, and that's been effective for me. So basically what this looks like is, most days I go outside. So for me, it's important to be in nature when I meditate. That's for me. That's not for everyone. Okay. And I sit cross-legged. I have a blanket that I sit on. I light some incense and I get quiet. Okay. I check in with my body. I check in with my breath. I'm very intentional and mindful about that. And what I do is I just begin to notice thoughts, okay? And when thoughts come in, I use the word thinking. I say thinking. I return back to my breath. I return to my body. And then I start over and I notice another thought and I say thinking. And I repeat this over and over again over the course of a 10-minute meditation, all right? And I don't do this every day. There are some days where I'm too busy. I've got too much stuff going on with my kids. I've got an appointment and I can't do it. And that's okay. We have to have flexibility in this, right? So we're really trying to move away from this rigidity in any practice that we begin to use in our healing from relational trauma. We've got to be flexible. We've got to be less rigid, okay? So I'm not doing this every day. That's absolutely okay. And some days it's really difficult. Some days my mind, my thinking brain is really, really going, and I find myself getting frustrated with myself. You know, why is it going so strongly? What's wrong? And then I remember this phrase, unconditional friendliness. This is one way that we develop a different relationship with our thoughts and with ourselves. So many of us have this punishing dialogue just about thoughts that come in and out. And so it's another way that we learn how to be much more kinder and gentler and nurturing and compassionate with ourselves. Do you have to have a meditation practice in order to recover from relational trauma? No, this is not for everyone. And I really want to make sure that that's very clear. There are some people who are really not going to connect with meditation. It's going to feel really difficult for them. It might even feel a bit unsafe for them. You know, being in our physical bodies and trying to quiet our minds can feel really hard and almost scary for some folks who are recovering from relational trauma. We really want to honor that. I would say if you try this and it's not feeling good, put it away. Maybe try to pick it back up a couple months from now. And try a different kind of meditation if that's helpful for you. But you absolutely do not have to have this practice in order to recover from relational trauma. Can it be helpful for many of us? Absolutely it can. And that's why I wanted to share a bit about it today. Thanks for coming on here. Happy healing.